out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. This is the Dauphin. I think I'm saying that. I'm not saying Dolphin. I'm saying Dauphin. The Dauphin on this episode of It's All Been Trek Before. Speaking of Dauphin, patreon.com/IBD. No, and there's no connection. They both end and end. But anyway, go there, support us, support the network, support the programs, support us making it to Star Trek Into Darkness. That's going to be my pitch every time from now on. Go there, support us, like you're going to support us here. The Dauphin. Wesley. Young Wesley. On It's All Been Trek Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. The crew is here.
This is Steven.
And Keith.
Jimmy-Jerome and Selena is here. Celia is here with me on my side of things. Now, we're here to talk the Dauphin or something like that. First impression.
I think it's Dauphin.
Dauphin, whatever.
I looked it up, and I guess it literally does mean dolphin in French, but it's also an heir, like the heir apparent.
A male heir, though, isn't it?
Yeah, typically it says, but yeah, Dauphine, I guess, would be the female heir.
So Dauphin, whatever, is the eldest son of the King of France, is the literal definition. So this was not about a son, but, well, maybe she was. She could shapeshift.
That's true.
That was an interesting thing that they were doing there. I mean, I guess perhaps there was some distinction if there was procreation involved. I mean, she was the offspring of two of them, so.
Yeah, I think it was more just meant to, son of or not son, but offspring of a leader.
Right.
I got it.
Yeah.
What were your first impressions of the episode?
I may not be in the outlier here. I am a big Dawson's Creek fan, and I feel like this is a Dawson's Creek episode of The Next Generation. Good Dawson's Creek, not later seasons. But
there were some good episodes in the later seasons. There were
kind of like season 3 of TOS. There were some good moments, but I think I started like, oh, what is this mess and same old crap, and then I was like, no, you guys. I thought this one also. I'm not to the same level as last week, but I was affected by this one, and I thought it closed really strong. And I know people hate Wesley, and I do have a higher annoyance rating for him this episode than usual. But I thought he and those scenes they pulled off, and I like it.
I will say that overall, I kept thinking to myself, I like this way more than I should. It's my phrase of it was better than it had a right to be. It just something, it felt good. It was I think what I wrote later on as a note was it almost felt like an episode of The Orville in certain ways.
Yeah, that's a good call. And I thought that, and I didn't write that many notes. I didn't write a ton of notes for this, but yeah, it did feel very Orville, and not just because a lot of the episode was in 10 forward. Actually, Colleen watching, I can't remember, I think it was while watching one of these two. She was like, wait, is that the bar restaurant on the ship? I said, yeah. She's like, oh, wow. I said, well, you've seen the Orville, which she has. And she's like, yeah, I guess so. So, again, it makes sense that, of course, they would have one. Why wouldn't they? But anyway, I digress.
I agree with both of you. I liked the episode. It's nowhere, to me, anywhere near the level of last week's The Measure of a Man. Yeah. But I found it enjoyable, and I think Wesley's annoyance wasn't any more annoying than a typical teenage boy would be in the situation.
Yeah. And that's why I reduced him. I started increasing him at the end there. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Nope. I know that guy. I recognize that guy. That's me 10 years ago. But yeah,
I like to think it's me 20 years ago, but
well, I would like to think that's me 20 years ago too, but I know better.
So yeah, no, I liked it. Let's jump in.
Sure.
Right from the beginning, we get. I don't know why, but I thought it was a bad joke came to my mind immediately that we have a con woman, so we can't trust her. A woman at the con and Leslie's feet.
Yeah.
Ensign Gibson, played by Jennifer Barlow. She was pretty. There were lots of pretty women in this episode.
Yes.
It's going to be tough when we have to pick our crush of the episode. But I thought she did well. I don't know. I don't think we see her again. I'm looking that up right now.
Did they give her any lines?
Yeah, she had a couple. I don't remember them, but I'm pretty sure she had a couple. It looks like she's best known as an editor. rather than an actress, but she does have 22 acting credits.
Mm-hmm.
This falling around the middle of it, but yeah, this is her only episode of Star Trek.
Celia. I kept getting her. Celia. I think it's her that says after she beams over, I didn't feel a thing, which was also the title of my sex tape.
Oh.
And I'm glad she has again, the young people have a much more open view of transporting than some of the people from a few episodes ago when we got into the whole transporter thing. But
well, they don't know any better yet.
That's right. They haven't seen one of their friends get beamed into a concrete wall. Then they'll think differently. And then they'll just do the trace and they'll bring their friend back.
Oh.
We're already devolving here.
So that first scene where they beam aboard and Wes sees Celia and their eyes meet in the hallway. Riker hung back to talk to Wes.
Yeah.
But I feel like he hung back just to give him crap. Because the first thing he does is
that was funny.
He's like, who's she? Oh, she's probably some type of governess. And then and then he says something about there's no time for your jokes. It felt very strange. I guess he was just trying to, I don't know.
I wrote down Riker shade on Wesley's crush. That's what. Yeah,
I thought it was funny.
I was just like, it was funny, but I was like, whoa.
Immediately, my mind went to the fact I think they sort of remade this episode as a short for Star Trek Discovery. You know, they do the Star Trek shorts now, or short treks between seasons. Mm-hmm. And there was the one where Ensign Tilly meets a female woman, of course, who had escaped and stole away aboard the Discovery, but it ended up that she was going to be their planet's leader. And she was just trying to get herself some exposure to things, and then she became good friends. And so I feel like that worked really well as a 15-minute short. I'm not sure we needed the whole 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Except it wasn't, they took the crush part out of it. But yeah. Data should be annoyed when Wesley goes to him to ask about the girl. Like, couldn't he just ask a computer? Doesn't the second officer of a starship have better things to do than tell Wesley who the girl is?
Yeah.
Although I did like in that scene, Data used a colloquialism. I don't remember what it was now, but those are rare for him. I had a big problem with the description of the planet that she was going to go rule, and how they talked about how it always faced the sun on the same side.
Right.
They had developed two different cultures of dark and light.
Uh-huh.
And wouldn't the side that always faces the sun be too hot, and the side that always faces away be too cold, and life would have developed around the ring of the middle, so that it would just be one people instead of two, because it would be they'd all want to develop in the middle.
They were just far enough away that it was just warm enough and just on both sides.
I mean, that just doesn't make sense, right?
It doesn't, but... Well, and I wrote down another Civil War, and I know we talked about this a few episodes back. That like it makes sense. There's Civil Wars all over and all that, and light and dark. It's like this might be where Star Trek is taking from Star Wars: light side, dark side. Come on already! So
you clearly not see that the sun rises on the east side of my house, while the sun rises on the west side of her house.
Oh my God. It does.
Let that be my last original series.
No.
I couldn't resist.
I didn't catch it at the time. You know, the scientific problems with what you just mentioned, but I'm realizing that and a couple other things were big hints toward what we find out at the end, that they're not actually humanoid life forms.
Oh yeah.
So that's probably why they can survive in something like that.
I guess.
Well, wouldn't that also mean the planet's not rotating?
Yes.
Well, it could be. Well, I don't know, but
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. The planet couldn't rotate, or on its own orbit or its own axis and still go around the sun. And
I feel like if there's some other, I guess if you have another planetoid or something along with it, you could probably arrange it in such a way where it would only catch the. I don't know. I feel like you could do it with a model of some sort, but yeah, that is.
Oh, that's a good
bit of a stretch.
That would explain how one side could always stay dark, but not how the other could always stay light.
Right, unless there were multiple stars or something, and you'd have to I don't know. It would be
very
complicated.
And then we would have spent the whole episode talking about that.
Yeah.
I loved Worf in this episode for so many reasons. Starting right away with the do not be fooled by her looks. A body is just a shell. I mean, obviously, I've got other notes of Worf down the page of when, other than when he fought the creature in the sick bay and then he did the delayed half punch while she shifted back and just waited with his fist raised and then put his fist down. That was weird. But the conversations between Worf and Anya where they talked about control and strength. Yeah. And then that came back again at the end where they talked about, oh, we should fight by each other's side at one point. I mean, I really thought Worf and Anya should have hooked up personally. But
yeah, I liked all those scenes.
Anya, played by Patty Edwards in her older form, or more mature form, I guess I should say. She's an actress best known for Hercules and The Little Mermaid. She did the voice of Flotsam and Jetsam in The Little Mermaid, and Atropos in Disney's Hercules.
She was also the voice of Gozer in Ghostbusters.
Huh.
Yeah.
So very big voice actress. Sadly, she died in 1999 at the age of 68, so about 10 years after she did this. Yeah, she's got so many Disney and other animated voice credits. That's just awesome. I had no idea. For her, does she have any Seinfeld credits? I didn't look.
No, she didn't.
Did you actually check?
I definitely looked at her filmography and everything. Yeah, I think we're very... we do have a Dawson's Creek credit coming up, but we do not. I did not see any Seinfeld credits this week.
Well, while we're talking about Anya, we should talk about, is it Madchen Amick?
Yeah.
Who, of course, was in only 3 episodes of Dawson's Creek as Nicole Kennedy.
She was Dawson's film professor or teacher, and she also dated his dad, Mitch Leary.
Yes, she did. I know her from so many things. Obviously, she was in Twin Peaks, the original version and the new version in the early 90s. She's best known for a film called Dream Lover. I'm not familiar with that. She's in Riverdale now as Alice Cooper. No, I've loved she did American Horror Story. She did some episodes of Longmire.
So that was her in this episode?
She was the teenage Anya that we saw only briefly, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I had her written down as her roommate from her first appearance, and then finally I was like, "Oh, that's what's going on."
She was also in Californication and Gossip Girl. Okay. I've been in love with her forever. Gilmore Girls, yeah.
She looked really familiar, and I couldn't place her, and that is the reason why.
No, I love her. Long-time fan, and really glad to see her in this. I wish it had been more than one brief scene.
Yeah, it was so short.
She would have already done... No, she hadn't done Twin Peaks yet, so she hasn't blown up yet.
Right. Yeah. Yes, that is a reason.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So she would do Twin Peaks like the year after this.
That's right.
And then she would stop being the cameo girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is old.
Sometimes I forget how long ago this was.
And we should mention while we're on guest stars, I guess, Jamie Hubbard played Salia.
Yeah.
Salia, sorry. This is what she's best known for. She only has 5 acting credits. Go ahead, Keith.
No, I was just saying.
Only 5?
That's great.
But yeah, this was her first of 5 acting credits. I thought she was good. I'm sad.
I did too.
She didn't act more.
Me too.
I mean, if this was an episode without Madchen in it, she may have been my crush of the week.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
like a spoiler.
While we're there, fashion. I thought her fashion and Anya's didn't do anything for them, except for young Anya's was a Bill T special, but it was so briefly there. The other stuff, I was like, oh, that's kind of pedestrian. It definitely did Jamie Hubbard no favors because obviously she's a tall, attractive girl, but her outfit was just But it's teenage romance, so you don't really need to sell the sizzle there.
How come the beasts weren't wearing any clothes?
That's a good question, too.
Those were very original series creature design.
Oh, my God. I wrote the same thing. I was like, am I watching Mantrap? Such a TOS creature.
I guess they spent all their budget on, I don't know what, but something else.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed them, and Colleen was like, well, it's a monkey. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, okay. Well, it does kind of look like a monkey when it runs. She was the little creature. And then when she was the bigger
looked like
creatures,
a teddy bear when she was a little creature.
it was something. But I'm not mad at it, but it was definitely like, ugh, what is okay.
The plot of Celia needing to do a duty and not have a choice, I feel like that's just one of those themes we see over and over and over again.
It is, and it's definitely a theme for teen movies, whether it's the 80s, 90s, or whatever, of, well, my parents think and that's literally what she kept saying, my parents need me to do this kind of thing. So,
and they just don't understand.
Right. Exactly.
Wesley in engineering not being able to concentrate because he was thinking about Celia. I just wanted to know how many times a week does that happen? Like every time they go to a planet, does Wesley have trouble concentrating in engineering?
Well, and there's got to be good-looking teenage girls on the Enterprise, as we've discussed.
Yes,
but obviously, you're smitten. But yeah, I thought that scene was great, especially Geordi was just like, get out of here.
Yeah, except the thing is, like, you don't just not teenage boys don't become completely useless. I thought that was a good example of how Geordi doesn't know women or doesn't know how to react around them. As we'll find out, Geordi is very awkward romantically. And yeah,
maybe he thinks everyone reacts like he does, including kids.
I mean,
obviously Wesley was not doing a great job, whatever he was doing, but
that slide down the ladder though was some big D energy.
Yeah, it was.
That was his glands were fully active then.
I like the dramatic effect of Anya. I think where she got on the elevator and they had to wait as she rode up, and then she continued the conversation. I thought that was.
That was one of my notes. That whole thing with the tour.
Yeah,
and I love that exchange of glances between Worf and Geordi when she just hit that turbo lift or that lift, and it's just like that kind of like, aren't you going to do something to stop it? What is she doing? Like, yeah, just.
I came around on Anya. I did not like her at the beginning, and as the episode wore on, I thought I loved her. She was great.
I think if we didn't have her relationship with Worf, it would have been hard to come across on her side. But Worf just humanized her so much. That relationship. Yeah, and honestly, that Worf-Anya relationship probably knocks this episode up at least one or two places in the ranking of episodes. Seriously, I think it was that key and that important.
I think it makes it easier at the end to buy, like, oh, okay, she is pretty much a good person. Because up until then, you're like, what? Who is this a-hole who is just messing things up?
I got she was protecting her charge. Yeah. That never bothered me. So staying on the Wesley puberty thing, though, I mean, obviously Geordi's not who he should ask about women. But if you're Wesley in Wesley's position and you've got this group of men to go to for romantic advice, who is the first person you go to?
Riker, probably.
Right. I go to Riker, so why is Riker the last person he goes to? Why does he go to Worf and Data first? That makes no sense.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, for dramatic effect and comedic effect in the episode, but also maybe because he was a little intimidated by the ribbing he got at the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, even so, though, Data and Worf there've got to be other people that are better to go to than Data and Worf. Don't get me wrong, I thought both scenes were very funny. Worf's scream and describing, and the look he got in his eyes where he's like, yeah, women hurl heavy objects at us and they claw, and men just duck. And then Data's like, well, you're biologically compatible, so go for it. I mean, both of those were great. It's just, it didn't make any sense.
And there's got to be other kids Wesley's age who have got somewhere with girls, right?
Oh, yeah, but you don't go to a guy your age. You're going to go to the grown man.
Well, he doesn't seem to have... He doesn't seem to have friends his own age, probably because of the position he's in. He's more mature. He was raised pretty much on the bridge, so...
That's true. Fair. His buddies are Data, Geordi, and Riker.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I thought even the Riker scene was played for comedic effect, but with Whoopi Goldberg, first of all,
that was great.
First of all, I think Riker should have given Guinan a heads up, but I love that he didn't about the fake flirting. But then they got so into it with
it was so good,
and she just rolled with it, and you can just tell they are both players. They are both for the game. At first, I was like, I bet as soon as Wesley left, they went back to their quarters and
right.
had copious relations. But then I thought, no, with these two's personalities, they probably kept this game going for 2 or 3 years before they eventually had sex, just to wind each other up.
That scene might have been the hardest I've laughed during Next Generation so far. It was in a good way. It was intentionally laughed.
I'm really disappointed they never did a romantic relationship between Riker and Guinan after that. I thought they just had it.
Well, and I say I laugh at it, but it was also like, to your point, it was like, this is sexy. This is.
Oh, it was hot.
They both played it perfectly. It was so good, and I thought it was edited so perfectly to when they finally turned back to Wesley. It's like, because the whole time you're just like, oh, because I think as a viewer you're like, where is this going? And then when it finally shoots back to Wesley, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, he's there too.
I mean, I guess
that scene was just so well executed.
It was, and I guess Guinan's not a lead character, but I think we should disqualify her the same way we did Chapel and Rand. But now that I'm thinking about Guinan in that scene, like, she's the top of the running for crush of the episode.
Yeah.
I think the hardest I laughed was, well, not the hardest laugh, but just I noticed they did like this Simpsons-esque kind of gag where Wesley, I think, was he asking Data? Yeah, when he went to ask Data about who the girl was. And they just suddenly cut in with Geordi over the intercom, like, what are you doing? Like, you assume that, for that scene cut that he'd already done what he needed to do, and he was just moving on, his own time.
I think this is a good time to bring up the writers of this episode, because you're pointing out, again, like, how brilliant these writers are for comedy. It's Scott Rubinstein and Leonard, I'm going to mispronounce his name, but it looks like Malata now. And they were script editors in the first part of this season. And this was the only episode they have a written by credit on. But I thought it was wonderful. I think they should have had them write more comedy episodes of The Next Generation. Mm-hmm. And the director was our old friend, Rob Bowman.
Oh, yeah. What's he been up to? I haven't seen him in ages.
He doesn't call anymore, that's for sure.
I meant old friend because this is the 9th episode of The Next Generation he's directed thus far. Most recently, he directed A Matter of Honor. He directs 4 more episodes over the next year before we lose him. He directed Where No One Has Gone Before was his first episode. He directed a whole bunch in this first season and in second season. So, a familiar director, which probably helped with some of the cuts and edits. Knew the cast, knew the characters. Wes's timing was a little too coincidental that when he finally went to visit, Celia, Anya just happened to be away.
Maybe been watching. Maybe she called him or something.
She was putting out the pheromones, and he caught him. Yeah.
I do want to know why the replicator doesn't provide a spoon with her chocolate.
That's what Colleen said. She was like, why wouldn't they give him a spoon? I was like, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. And then why would he leave it there? That's what it was.
Wesley's not smooth enough to cancel the spoon just to do it. But then, Wesley took away her chocolate, which I thought just shows how little he knows about women.
Right. I said to Colleen, I said, why would you leave that there? And she was like, why wouldn't you give her a spoon? I'm like, yeah, exactly.
I mean, she clearly wanted something out of Wesley, but she could have eaten the chocolate off his body. They didn't need to leave it and go.
Well, I think that goes to just the technological advancements of having a replicator on the ship. I mean, things probably just seem really disposable. It's probably reabsorbed or something, or they can just get more wherever. So,
but she just had her first taste of chocolate. She's gonna want more.
Go ahead, Keith. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, they get more when they go to the bar, and more when they leave. It's just probably just go call up whenever.
I mean, she must have been worked up if she could just be like, okay, I'll come back to that first taste of chocolate.
I wish they'd done kind of a little hint there about her and just had her like somehow with her tongue eat the whole thing in one slurp after taking it with her finger while Wesley's looking for a spoon for her. And then he comes back with a spoon. He's like, oh, I guess you don't need it. And she just got chocolate around her mouth.
That would be the cartoon version of this, but that would have been hilarious.
I know they didn't have clearly they did not have the ability to do that effectively, but it would have been funny.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we can see the limitations of the technical stuff in the 80s and early 90s here as we get going, which the 60s is so long ago where we just take that for granted. They had bad effects, but here, now that we're, we've seen more recent Star Trek that has good effects, and we go back to this and we're like, oh, we forgot how bad they were in the 80s and 90s too.
Well, it's the high def too.
Yeah, that too. Speaking of which, when he's with her on the holodeck and they're looking at, there's that planetscape with the planet with the rings. I think that's from TOS. I feel like that's from either a matte picture or one of the things they do, the shots from the end credits. And I didn't research it at all, but it looked very, very familiar. It was like they just pulled it right from that. We're like, we're going to throw this in here for the fans, and it works for what we got, and we don't have to pay extra for it.
I didn't think they had any plans to look that good in the original.
It looked like I want to say Rigel 7, but I think I'm wrong. But it looked like something from Menagerie or The Cage.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look.
I thought it was odd when the fight went down in sickbay and they called for security. Picard entered like 3 seconds later. Was he just walking by sickbay? And does he do that? And does he do that every hour since Crusher left? Just the sad puppy walking next to sickbay.
That's a good question.
So when we revealed that how powerful Anya is, and then of course later Celia is revealed to be the same, my first thought was, because she said she has infinitesimal powers, my first thought was, what does God need with a starship? Which we'll get to that movie here in just a couple of months from the listener perspective, but it very much felt like, so why did they need to take the starship if they're so advanced?
Right.
And did they have their own starships?
I think there's advanced and there's advanced.
They didn't have their own way to travel the stars.
Right.
Because obviously they took her off of her home world to raise her in secret elsewhere.
Well, it's like, you send somebody out to isolation, just because they don't have a car doesn't mean they're not advanced.
Yeah, but how'd they get out to isolation?
I don't know. Maybe somebody dropped them off. Like, who gave her the caretaker? How are they communicating with the other world to know it's time to go back? Things like that.
So,
I guess why wouldn't somebody ferry them?
Speaking of the holodeck sequence, when they're standing on the asteroids in the midst of the asteroid field, besides the fact that they should be able to breathe, all I could think of was Wes should turn to her and start singing, "I can show you the world." And
now we're sued.
I only sang one line, and poorly. I'm sure it wasn't on key.
That would be a great defense, I think.
I thought it was odd that they were not familiar with changeling species. I know that they filmed this before they filmed Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, but in Star Trek VI, we see a changeling, and Kirk isn't all that surprised to meet a changeling. So it seems awfully odd that in the next gen, they don't know what a changeling species is.
Well, no, they heard of them. They were actually, they were referring to something. They had a name for it. They were talking about it.
And I thought we had shapeshifters, at least one in the original series, but maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, we had godlike beings who shifted what they look like.
Oh, that's true. That's
witches. True. And we had Isis the cat.
Oh, that's true, too.
Was that from Cat's Paw?
No, that was from Assignment Earth.
Oh, right.
So I was wrong. That it is not a ringed world in the Menagerie matte painting. But although it looks similar, where it's a planet kind of behind a building, the ringed planet was in, to go back to the last week's episode, it was in the court-martial episode.
Oh.
But it was not the same shot. So that is a new shot.
Okay. I did think it was odd that they thought Wesley was going to corrupt her. Like, Wesley is about as uncorrupted as they come. And I also thought it was odd that she didn't defend Wesley in front of Anya, being like, I came here.
I don't think corruption necessarily...
Quarters.
I don't think it meant like he's going to get her hooked on drugs. I mean, the idea is that he's going to put ideas in her head about being free and not having...
Oh, I thought it was about sex.
I don't know. I don't think it was Anya's protectiveness of her. I think may have extended to the realization that her focus was going to be split away from what she had to do. And
Wesley Wesley was pretty dumb with how he handled it all. Like, oh, we'll find a way. There's a way you can stay.
Yeah.
What the heck? No. I was upset at Wesley for being mad that she was a shapeshifter, because wouldn't we all like to have sexual relations with a shapeshifter? I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Well, and I thought there was going to be a Galaxy Quest moment there when they were kissing, where
Me too.
You see her turn into the other creature. But yeah, if not for him coming back in the final scene with her, my annoyance rating with him was going up. And I know, at the same time, I was still like, the shapeshifter was the issue. And I get, because I could kind of understand the being hurt, like you didn't tell me who you really were, or that aspect of it. And I know that's yet another analogy of teendom or whatever, and growing up and puberty and all that stuff. But I just thought it was just like, ooh, I don't like this guy. It's one thing if he'd said like, oh, you should have told me who you were, but the way the disgust on his face seemed more that it was about her appearance. Yeah,
I think that,
in her humanoid form.
I don't know. I mean, I think it would take me a lot of getting used to.
I mean, honestly, I'm thinking back to my teenage years, and maybe I was more desperate than Wesley, but I would forgive a woman just about anything if she was still going to date me.
All right, I can see that. I can agree that I'm probably coming in at this from a much different place than I would have been at Wesley's age. But at the same time, man, I think that if we had even minor things where you're dating a woman and she takes off a rubber mask or something and whatever, she looks like Freddy Krueger or something. I don't know. I think that there's going to be a bit of a shallow thing that kicks in where you go, you were deceiving me. You were making me think that you look like this when you look like this. Yeah. Just even on the surface of that.
I mean, I don't think I would react that way, but I'm not everybody. So
exactly. I'm just saying that there is some aspect of that where you tricked me into feeling this way about this one specific aspect. I think that is going to be hard to get over.
It's one of the boys, when she reveals she's a girl.
Oh, just one of the guys.
One of the guys. One of my, I can't even get the title right. Yeah, it's just one of the guys. And he gets all mad at her. And yeah, my reaction was like, why are you mad at her? Are you looking at her? But yeah, but he was so mad. But yeah,
that's like the opposite though.
You're right.
It's like if she went in the other direction.
You're right. That is the opposite. Yeah, that gets more back to he was just lying to her. That gets back to my original point. Like that's part of teendom. But yeah. If your buddy that you're not sure what's going on with ends up being Joyce Heiser. Yeah.
If Marianne suddenly, turned into like a 6-foot bear or something, mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what I would think. I mean, obviously she can choose to look like she does now, and great, but I don't know. It would still take me at least a moment, at least a good couple of minutes before she gets to that transport, before I go, wait a minute.
Well,
before Wesley did the running through the airport scene.
Yeah.
And now we're back to the cage or the menagerie, take your choice, where it's like, you know what? If you can keep that illusion up, that might be better than the real world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially if she can look like Susan Oliver in either of those episodes, then yes, I don't care what you look like for sure.
Or just Celia.
Yeah, that's fair too. Yeah.
Or Madchen Amick.
Yeah, this episode got deeper than I thought all of a sudden, but it's I think it's a fair. Like I said, I think it's one of those teen analogies, kind of like Buffy's a teen analogy for getting through high school, on some levels. But I think there is that question, which is a menagerie cage question, and I think some of it is somebody turning out to be a different person than you thought they were. But there's also here, and I think that's what we're talking about, is the idea of somebody not looking exactly the way you thought they would, or if something happened to the person you loved, like, and I guess you just kind of said this, Keith, something happened to the person you loved and they look differently or something,
Well, that's a kind of a different thing too. That's that kind of
that's true.
How unconditionally do you really love that person?
Yeah, that's true. That's true too. That's true.
And also, they just met. Should that have been the first thing out of her mouth?
Right.
But then, then you get into the issue of like catfishing.
Yeah. I guess if her natural form was a big giant bear and she was catfishing as a young teen girl, then that would be bad. But I don't feel like that was ever the way this was presented.
Right.
Jimmy, what you said about being desperate or whatever, which I can relate to, reminds me of and you'll want to cut this part, reminds me of my favorite Gary Shandling joke that Colleen has told me I can never tell again, or I can't tell now, which is, and this is about this era, about this time, he said, with AIDS and all these venereal diseases and everything, it's getting to the point where I won't have sex with a woman unless she says, "All right, I'll have sex with you."
Wow.
Now, Colleen took that as a consent joke, which it isn't. But I understand where she's coming from, saying that's not funny. In her mind, he's saying,
previously he wasn't waiting for permission.
Exactly. And I tried to explain to her, but she didn't buy it. I said, no, that's not the joke. The joke is the woman's willing to have sex with him.
Then he's going to go for it.
Let's go. Yeah. And I was like,
yeah. I get it.
I bet. Yeah. I was when I first said that joke and I saw it, I'm like, yep, bingo.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it had anything to do with consent.
I did give her the background. I was like, no, it's not that kind of joke. But yeah.
I mean, as soon as you said that there was another way to look at it, I could see it and I understood, but it never would have occurred to me otherwise, I don't think.
No, me either. But I get why she thinks it's that kind of joke. I totally get it. I understand it, but I know it's not.
So I think I found the major plot hole in this episode in that Wesley puts two and two together when he realizes that they first asked what species the Enterprise crew was before they beamed up, so that they would know that they should look human. Except I'm pretty sure Wesley wasn't on the bridge when that all went down. So how would he know they asked what species they were before they beamed up?
We have no way of knowing what their communication policies are, whether.
You think he just listens in from below decks?
No, I mean, we don't know if it was being broadcast to engineering. We don't know if he had a conversation at some point off screen.
Somebody was just like, "Hey, Wes, guess what? This was odd."
You know what I mean?
What species we were.
Well, maybe eventually he was saying, like, I'm dating this girl that's up here. Well, did you hear what I heard about it? No, what?
Well, I mean, maybe it's in the ship's logs or something, some of the records you would have been looking at, trying to find out more about them coming on board.
We know they have access to everything in the ship's computers.
Yeah.
I thought it was odd, too, at the end where Wesley gets to say energize. Like, Riker and O'Brien just stand there and wait for him to say it.
Yeah, I thought that was very sweet. I actually really like that. I mean,
weird.
It's definitely not protocol or whatever, but I actually really liked it.
I mean, I like if they're going to give him the moment, but how would he know they're giving him the moment? He just took that very confidently, and I didn't feel like Wes is that level of confident.
It's funny you should say that, because there's one note that I had left that I was debating about even mentioning, but that scene where the captain was reprimanding him, essentially, or kind of trying to, break things down for him. Here's why you can't do this. Wesley didn't wait to be dismissed. He just left. He was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I understand.
Yeah,
Bye.
I started to think maybe early in the episode that there was actually like some greater power she had over him, and it wasn't just normal teenage hormones, but they never went that direction with it.
Well, and I thought the energized thing also, because he rushes in, is like, wait! And then I think they were letting him, when he said energize. Well, yeah, so when he said energize, he was more saying, all right, goodbye. I'm done. Yeah, goodbye, yeah. But we could have gone the other way where he's like, energize. I said energize.
Right.
I was disappointed O'Brien really just had a cameo in this episode in the transporter room.
Yeah.
Because we've been lucky to get lots of O'Brien lately, especially last week. It makes me sad too, because this early season 2 is so O'Brien and Guinan heavy. And I know it's going to be like in the original series where we got all that Uhura Chekhov Sulu at the beginning of the season and then we didn't get any later. Guinan and O'Brien are in a couple dozen episodes apiece, like 28, 30 episodes apiece. But I feel like that we've already gotten like half a dozen episodes of each of them in this season, so we'll get them less as time goes on. Like they may still have as much to do in the episode, but we see them less frequently than we've been seeing them lately, which is too bad because I really like both of those characters. Of course, we'll get plenty of O'Brien in Deep Space Nine where he's a lead, but in Next Gen,
Well, I mean, I was looking at it as I did the previous episode, in which I'd forgotten by the end of it that anyone else was even in it, other than like the 3 or 4 people toward the end, centering around Riker and Picard and Data and so forth. I think I've said this before earlier in the season that I kind of appreciated when they didn't try to force too much too many of the other characters into the episode if they didn't have to be in there. If you want to have a couple where you bring that other person forward and really concentrate on them, I think it dilutes it too much if you force in too much B story.
Oh, you're absolutely right, and I agree with your point there, Keith. I mean, there are plenty of episodes where Geordi or Troy get little to nothing. Mm-hmm. It just makes me sad that we don't get more of Guinan and O'Brien, because I love Guinan and O'Brien, and I guess that's a testament to Cole Meany and Whoopi Goldberg that the more I see them, the more I want of them.
No, I guess my point is, aren't there going to be more episodes with them like being focused upon at some point at least? I mean,
yeah.
So
yes,
they're
absolutely.
taking their turn. Yeah.
What do we think of the soap bubble form that she took at the end?
I was looking away, honestly.
That was interesting.
Yeah, the whole point about the Wookiee form or whatever, the bear. Yeah. I guess I would be more likely to forgive the idea that to them, this form, their natural form, is just amorphous. And them choosing to be whatever is sort of arbitrary. That would be less objectionable to me than them knowing that there's this specific form that would be unpleasing to me and then choosing to be something else just long enough to trick me or something. I get from that standpoint, still it is shallow in some ways, but it's just, I think that feels more of a betrayal than the idea of them not having a concept of what is,
Should they just have been points of light, and they were cousins with the points of light from last season?
Is it possible they would just forget who their actual selves were, like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder?
Oh man!
But yeah, what I'm saying is, it's just I think that forms would be a much different sort of meaning to them than it would be if their natural form were like a large hairy animal of some sort.
Mm-hmm. My last note here is Guinan's conversation with Wesley at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I found it very poignant when she talked about, you're never going to feel this way about somebody again because every love feels different.
Yep.
That really spoke to me, and that's something that's very hard to explain to a teenager, but I think it ends up being true.
And it's one of those things where Whoopi, the way it's written, the way she plays it, the way that character's developed, which I friggin' love. Yeah, it is pitch perfect. I thought, just like her earlier scene with him and Riker. I thought Anya and Celia's last scene, and then it goes Wesley's last scene with her, and then Wesley with Whoopi. I thought those three, because up until that, I thought, well, it's a cute episode. Those three really elevated it for me. I thought they were pitch perfect. It made it a really good, rather than I'm easy with teen movies, so you just give me a teen movie and it's like, okay, this is fun and people are in love and all that kind of stuff. It's high school or whatever. Dawson. But I thought those last three scenes elevated it to like a really good Dawson's Creek episode, which is again why I liked it. Because I thought, for as much as it's the 24th century and all that stuff, and these were shapeshifters and all that, it was real. It was real at the end. So I really appreciated that. I was very touched. I was very moved.
Yeah. Well, and Guinan's always, they played her as an enigma. They played her as mysterious. We weren't supposed to know anything about her.
Yeah.
But we'll eventually find out she's like 200 or 300 years old. So that makes sense why she'd have such wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My other thought with Wesley at the end when he says energize would be energize. I said energize. Who do you think you are? I'm dating a woman who's running a planet. Did you just see that? How dare you? But and also, Keith, I hope you noticed this, but maybe not. The I can't remember if it's Riker or Picard orders them to take them to warp 8.8.
Ah, I missed it.
Yep.
I had one job, and I'm just yeah.
I'm picking up your slack. I got you.
Alternate episode.
Mine was, and I wrote this early on, and Dawson's Creek in space is better, but that's what it is. But Teen Wolf in space is what I wrote as soon as the creatures came out. So
I'm gonna hop on your Dawson's bandwagon, and we could have as she beams away, we hear do 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 do, or Wesley goes back to his best friend's quarters, who happens to also be an attractive woman. And he's like, man, she left, and I'm so sad. And his best friend's like, yeah, you don't notice me at all, even though I'm in love with you.
No, you have to do the proper form of it being, maybe the person you should really be with is right in front of you somewhere. Or
Yes.
you're-
Yes.
No, I can't. I can see it, but I can't hear it. The song that Joey sings at the teen pageant where she's singing about.
Joey's Creek. What a great show.
Now I gotta want to go watch Dawson's Creek.
I always want to watch Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
never seen it.
Oh, Keith.
Yeah, I don't know.
You've got 6 seasons of wonderfulness waiting for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I have an average tolerance for teen drama type things, but I usually need more of like a Buffy thing going on for me to really deal with that adequately. I think I'm more of a place where I graduated to the adult version of that, like a Bachelor type thing. I don't think I've ever watched a season of The Bachelor per se, but you know what I'm saying.
Scale of 1 to 10, how annoying was Wesley?
I ended up settling at 3. I had him going higher when he was getting real. Yeah, and then he saved himself for me in the last couple scenes. I thought he came around. And he's just a kid, but so 3.
I went through a similar journey in a way, and I think I ended up settling on a 2. Simply because it averaged out with this being such a Wesley-centric episode, it could have been a lot worse for some of those moments. And I think he ended up being a good centerpiece for some of the things that were happening around him. Mm-hmm. And it played off well enough. Even with some of the cheesy things, I felt like the lines were delivered a little better than usual in some of those cases when he has certain kinds of material to work with. But yeah, that bit at the end with that kind of the whole betrayal thing it was annoying, but then had that same kind of justification in my head that you probably did. You were saying just would I be that much better? Would any teenager be that much better?
I mean, I'm going to break ranks, I guess, and give him a 5.
Wow.
I think the teenage hormone stuff I buy and excuse. I think his reaction to the shape-shifting thing doesn't gel with what I feel like somebody in his position would have had a reaction towards. And I also didn't like the unearned cockiness he got in parts of this episode. So that gives him an average score of 3.3, which is at the moment the highest of the season.
Even when the episode's about Wesley and we really like what he does, he's ranks high on the annoying scale.
Yeah,
but he earned it. He deserves it. I mean, I think he deserves it.
We had a couple episodes in season 1 where he went higher, but I like Wesley overall, even though this is one of my. I don't know. I will say I think he's my annoyance of the episode. Again, the unearned cockiness.
Mine too.
And I don't think that reaction was authentic.
Yeah, he's mine as well.
He's yours as well, Keith?
Yeah, because as he's going through that scene, and I had the same reaction you did, I kept scratching out my number and going higher, and then I scratched it out and came back lower in those last couple scenes. But yeah, I was with you.
You're picking Wesley as your annoying character?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going with Anya.
Really? I loved Anya.
She was mine for a while.
It could have been played so much differently. Obviously, for the purpose of the episode, they did what they had to do, and that they went through that whole thing. But I still landed on that being a bit too much of that kind of archetypal hindrance, the roadblocks you had to present between them, and just like
that's fair.
It was tedious.
I thought she was going to be like Stan Marsh's mom on South Park and just keep killing everybody.
Oh my God!
But I'm glad it didn't come to that.
Crushes of Trek. Steven, you're still on Vecma?
Yeah, I thought about, our young Anya, but I'm going to stick with the Klingon Vecma.
Really?
Yeah.
There were so many attractive women in this episode.
I know. I think if young Anya had stuck around a little longer, I'd have been there.
Okay. To be clear, the young Anya is just credited on IMDb as teenage girl.
Okay.
Which makes it pretty creepy to choose her. However, I'm going to justify it by the fact that Madchen Amick was 18 in this episode.
All right.
She was 18, and I was 6 when this came out. And also, I've enjoyed her very much in scenes as an older person as well. She's 13 years older than me, so I feel like I can choose her.
So she's the creep in this situation.
I mean, I guess, but not really. I just feel a little creepy picking teenage girl because that's how she's credited on IMDb. But I guess Anya overall would be my pick because I just liked her attitude with Worf, and then she can also look like Mad Chinamic.
I'm probably about the same age as she is at this point in real life. And yeah, all the same justification.
You're 18?
The actress currently and then
she's going to be 50 this year.
Oh, she's a little older than me then.
Then she and I were the same, pretty much the same age. I was a little older. Yeah. I was actually a little older.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm staying with Solar.
Okay. I mean, we had Ensign Gibson too. And Celia. I mean, there's lots of great choices, but whatever, It's up to you.
It's still, there's just something about, I think that really does just represent where I am currently in my life, where that just feels a little weird picking that as the option.
Also, what just made Madchen even better, in my opinion, is I was looking at IMDb page, and she was born in Sparks, Nevada. And I love Sparks, Nevada, the Thrilling Adventure Hour comedy series starring Mark Evan Jackson. So, not that matters, but bonus points. Ranking the episode, I mean, certainly not better than The Measure of a Man or A Matter of Honor.
No, we talked last week about the awesome. No, is it the awesome Okana? I'm never gonna get
outrageous Okana.
Outrageous Okana.
Shall we start there?
I think that's a good place to start. I feel like.
Okay, I'll go with that.
I don't know what's right above that, but
Unnatural Selection.
I would say this is actually very similar to Okana in certain ways, but I would say better.
Yeah, I think I like it better too.
Okay, The Child is the next one up.
I like it better than that, but we're starting to get into recency bias territory. But
there is a little bit of that. Yeah, definitely. I think it's comparable because I thought the I'm looking at my name. I thought the child was really good too. We're at number 3? Is that where we're?
The Child's number 4 right now.
Oh, okay. What's 3?
Elementary Dear Data.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a hard stop there.
Better than The Child?
Me? Yeah.
But not as good as Elementary Dear Data?
Yeah. I mean, I think The Child probably had better sci-fi concepts. Although as we discussed, there are, I don't know, is it sci-fi things or real-world stuff on our sci-fi patina, although that's still fine. I could go either way with it and The Child. Is it up to me to decide?
I don't know. Keith hasn't. Neither one. Keith nor I.
I'm going to say it's above The Child. I think I had more fun with it. We're getting closer to the more modern feel of the series, and yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go above The Child as well. I'm kind of surprised. I really thought I'd rank it a little lower.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd get this high either, but yeah, it's one of the best. Number 3 or 4.
Well, it's number 4 out of 10 so far this season.
Yeah. I started off not thinking I would love this episode, and I ended up liking it quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I agree. So next week, we're going to watch Contagion. In this episode, Picard and company try to protect the Enterprise against a catastrophic malfunction and simultaneously unlock the secrets of the once powerful Iconian Empire while keeping those secrets from the watchful Romulans.
Hey, Romulans! Now I'm excited.
And the Iconian Gate, that's an interesting thing. I know they follow up on that in Deep Space Nine just in one episode.
That's not the outrageous Iconian Gate, is it?
No, the Iconians are a different era than the Iconians.
Okay.
Until then, live long.
To be over. And prosper.
And Sue.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?